What's going on, everyone? It's Azola Hype here, and I have an amazing panel for you this evening. We have a very, very special guest in next from Game of Theories, and then we have the usual suspects, Gemma and George Sartiano. But without further ado, let's introduce our special guest this evening, next from Game of Theories. What's going on, man?
How's it going, guys? Yeah, just a bit of a late one for me and Gemma here from the UK, but I think Gemma's used to these by now. So, so it's good to join the party again. Long time.
Yeah, man. Gemma's usually the one egging me to get on. It's not me usually asking her to get on. Don't get that twisted. She's usually asking me to do live streams. She's just like a crack addict trying to get her Game of Thrones fix. But thanks, next, for coming on. We have the lovely lady of the panel, Gemma. What's going on?
Hi guys. Yeah, it is really late, but do you know what? I think I am fully converted to US time zones now. I go to bed at about 4 or 5 a.m. and then I drag my carcass out of bed at about midday. This is not good, but Iman, I am prepared to make these sacrifices because some things are more important. Happy to be here, Kyle.
She's donating her babies to the great other, that's for sure. And then we have George Sartiano, my right-hand man. What's going on, George? You got a little bit of red on you. Is it nice and sunny in California?
I was out for a run earlier. Hello, everybody, from my new digs out here in the Reach. Just happy to be here again, and let's keep talking about one of my favorite subjects, Game of Thrones.
So I actually will be getting a backdrop, guys. Wow, I will be improving from my little shitty corner. Next week, you will see some better backgrounds. But today, we got a kind of fun format for you. There's no write-ups, me and everywhere. We're just discussing, we're just like, let's kind of go with it. We'll discuss a little bit of the last episode. Since next, I don't believe he's had a live stream yet. He does his own review videos in edited form. So we'll do that, do a little bit of the last episode. We'll get into the next episode preview, and then we're going to take some of your questions. So where should we start? Next, I'm going to leave this up to you, my man. What were you most intrigued with last episode? We'll go over like some of our favorite moments first.
All right. For me, I've been harping on now for over the course of well over a year about how badass Euron Greyjoy is going to be. And I'm still calling it right now. You've still not even seen even close to what's going to come from this guy. I remember when I made my Euron video, and I was saying how, how he was going to help Cersei kind of smash down Daenerys. And everyone was calling me crazy. Like all these, non-book readers were like, what are you talking about? Like he's only been in it for like one episode, and he was fucking shit. And I was just like, just watch, just wait. They bring him in for a reason. Like if he could have been missed out of the TV show by now, they would have just completely left him. But they have to bring him in because he has got some serious purpose in the last season, 2 seasons to go. And him, even just this episode 2, it was just the tip on the iceberg. He's got some serious shit coming down. I think he's going to do some serious things to impress Cersei still. And yeah, I'm excited to see what more comes from him. He's my favorite character in the books. He's probably my joint favorite character in the TV show, The Night King, because obviously The Night King doesn't exist in the books. And I'm just seriously hyped to see what he can do, man. Like I know he's not going to kill Yara. In my mind, he's not going to kill Yara straight away, because he would have done it by now. But I do think he's going to do some sick shit. He's going to tear that capital down and take it for himself.
Wow, that's a huge prediction, man. Jacob Morse actually, we were discussing after the last episode, and he told me about the Corvus, which was something that was used in the Roman war at sea, and he's descending on like the giant kraken tentacle. He's like, he's got his axe and he like swishes someone. I thought that was an absolutely awesome entrance. But yeah, hopefully we'll get some of the Forsaken chapter stuff. I don't know if all that's okay for television, but I'm assuming that since we're going to see 2 very different sides of Euron, that it's going to be awesome. Gemma, we talked a little bit about Euron last episode, but what were your thoughts overall? I mean, we've had a couple of days to marinate now and think about it. What were your thoughts on Euron?
Yeah, Euron, oh, he is savage in the books, like disturbingly savage, like stuff that I don't think they can get away with on television, to be quite honest. Yeah, I was the same, really disappointed with the King's Moot. I think that's safe to say. And it didn't set a very good precedent for what we might expect. And I think everyone's feeling Euron now. We've still not seen that much of him. We've seen a couple of scenes in season 7, but the hype that I've seen on social media and in the conversations that I have with people are feeling Euron Greyjoy, especially after that sea battle with his axe and his blood and his jester kind of laugh. And he has been a completely different character every time we've seen him as well, which is something I was hoping to see, this multifaceted personality that he's got. There's still a couple of personalities left, like you said, from the Forsaken kind of vibe, and I think that's what's going to happen to Yara. I said this last stream, I think there's a very real possibility that she'll take the Thalia Flowers role, which is not she wants to be. Heck, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Oh, geez, yeah. Like, Nex said he doesn't think that Euron is going to kill Yara. We could get something pretty crazy, like getting some tongues cut out. I got tongue twisted there. You see what I just did? But yeah, I think that we could see an amalgamation of that role. Gemma, I mean, we have only a certain amount of episodes left in the show, and them trying to condense everything to make everything work is definitely a thing. George, we saw a little Easter egg last episode. We actually saw at the end of the episode all of Euron's buddies cutting out the tongues of all the people they captured on the ship to make more mutes. Do you want to let us in some of the Easter eggs we can talk about, and what were your general thoughts on Pilu Aspect, who's been playing Euron over the first 2 episodes of this season and one last season?
Well, as you can tell, it's still Euron week here at Channel Azora Hype, so I'm a bit of a fan. I didn't really like him last season. He's really come on strong, but we've seen him really kind of adopt his book posture more than the weak one that he had in his opening at on Pike. So now what are we seeing? His guys have cut out the tongues. He's hung 2 of the sand snakes. They're both dead, but he's captured 1 sand snake and Mama Snake, and also Yara. So what do we think is going to happen? Well, I'm going to throw out the prediction, and I know it's something we've talked about, but I think that Cersei is going to reenact the death of Ned's father and brother using wildfire and putting Mama Sand Snake and Baby Sand Snake in their place, and we're going to see some hanging and some burning in King's Landing. Yara, I'm betting she's going to have her tongue ripped out just because she's going to say something back to Euron at the wrong moment, and he's just going to turn around and do it. So there's going to be a lot of stuff coming from Euron here in the next few weeks, and I think that Cersei's basically going to have to accept his hand, whether or not she wants to. So what do you guys think? I'll throw it back to the panel.
Geez, there is so many things really about that. But I see Nex is salivating here, so I'm gonna step back and let the man take over.
Yeah, the thing is, one thing I already thought was I still think Cersei secretly had a bit of admiration for him when he came into that throne room. I mean, she already had that answer. He could have said anything as his kind of proposition, and she was always going to turn him down no matter what, because it was about the whole getting him to do something for her, like that whole manipulation style thing. But at the same time, he was anticipating that for sure. He was already ready to go out and do what he was going to do. That kind of shit doesn't come together so luckily. He knew what was happening with their fleet. He always had his plan. And I think because Cersei anticipated that, because he had no fear, like the way when he stepped up onto the steps of the throne room, and he's the only person to look at the mountain and just smile upon him, like, even when I was watching that scene, I was like, oh my God, tell me that this guy would be happy to throw down with him just for a laugh. Like he's the only, like, how many times have we seen a group of soldiers facing down with the mountain and you can see them all, like swallowing, sweating, choking, afraid of him. And Euron just takes this one look, and just smiles. It's like he knows his place, but he's not afraid to cross that line. And I think that's a very good definition of Euron. I think George is right that he's definitely gonna some shit's gonna go down with the door and with Ilaria and Tyene. I think one thing, the biggest justice in a poetic way would be to poison the daughter and have Ilaria watch before then having the mountain just get another toy, to add to the septon. But I think everyone would want to see it done the way it happened to Ned. But the only thing is for me, the poetic side of it is with the poison is making her watch what happened to Myrcella. That's for me how it should go down as for the poetic side of it. I think I would prefer to see that scenario where, one of them's getting choked out trying to rescue the other one being set on fire, though. That would be my favorite way of seeing that go down. One thing I was surprised with, though, is we already know that next episode, he's already welcomed in to Cersei's council, which again it goes to the whole anticipation side of things with me, because we see him stood right next to Cersei, kind of almost like talking into her ear from the side. So she was already prepared to let him in. She knew that she was the guy that she wanted. And I think eventually you can see the wedge that's going to drive between Jaime and Cersei, because Jaime's obviously initially going to want to compete with Euron, because he's not just going to walk away from Cersei. But then at the same time, how long is he going to be just a secondary guy? How long is that going to, carry on for?
And we know that the Ironborn culture is very masculine. We hear it in their words. We do not so. I mean, they take things. They pay the iron price to do things. And Euron he's a bit more exotic than the regular Ironborn, so we can expect a bit more from him because of his travels and experiences. But I think that we can definitely expect some more from him. That would be an interesting scenario. I could see how it would be kind of poetic if like Tyene died from the poison kiss, and Illyria had to watch her daughter die from the poison kiss. So it would be kind of parallel to Cersei losing Myrcella and that going down. So that would be pretty awesome. Or even Illyria.
Returns the gift, right? She returns the gift.
Returns the gift, so that makes a lot of sense. I'm hoping it's the wildfire burning because I want to see Jaime finally fracture with Cersei. That would be cool. The whole Rickard Stark thing go down. That's kind of where I'm going at. I think that's more of a want than what I actually think is going to happen. But yeah, does anybody have any final thoughts on Euron Greyjoy before we go into a couple more bigger moments in the episode and then preview the next one?
I've got one just quickly, just a quick observation from the trailer is we saw the shot of Cersei standing up in the throne room, and this is touching upon what Nick said about how he was given a short shrift by the mountain just for taking a step up those stairs. In the trailer for this next episode coming up, he's not only up those stairs, he is in Jaime's position. Stood in that exact spot by Cersei's left-hand side. So that's obviously a massive in his status within the Red Keep, from being, I don't think so, to you're now stood. Symbolism of that. And I'm wondering, where is Jaime? Has Cersei sent him somewhere? And is Euron in there in his absence, perhaps?
I mean, yeah. I mean, Jaime and Cersei have been side by side for such a long time. We know that Jaime could have been Lord of Casterly Rock a lot earlier, but he chose to be in the Kingsguard and do that because him and Cersei were in love and whatnot. But it's interesting to see where that will go. We can actually segue into Jaime Lannister next. We do know that he's going to be making a significant impact over the next couple episodes, and we know that he knows that the Greyjoys aren't necessarily the most trustworthy people. Euron talks about how he was slaying his forces in combat and how he made it look smooth. It kind of reminded me of what Sir Barristan said. He said he could cut down everybody with one hand and cut them down like butter, or the 8 of them. So that kind of it was a nice parallel to him and Sir Barristan being such good swordsmen. But what do you think? I'm going to go with George on this one first. Where do you think that Jaime goes from here? Because it is pretty complicated, right? I mean, he wants to love Cersei, but I think he's starting to realize that there's going to be a problem sooner than later, and he's trying to be pragmatic like Tywin, but he knows that Cersei is ignorant, ruled over by emotion, and now probably madness.
Who was that one to there?
George. That was for George.
George.
You're on mute, George. You're on mute, George.
I didn't hear any of that. I was sorry.
No, George, you're good.
I'll tell you what, I'll step in. It's okay.
Okay. Yes.
No, if you didn't hear any of that, then it's cool. Right. So basically, this is what I keep saying. That first scene that we saw with Jaime and with Cersei, that was, everyone was wondering how Jaime was going to react to the whole blowing up the Sept. And I think that was definitely the core kind of reaction is how he dealt with Cersei when he got back. First of all, she's throwing a question on him like, "Are you afraid of me?" That's, by the way, that implies that she wants him to be. I'm telling you now. And everything's changed for her. This is about her clinging on to power. That line of, "I loved my children." Everyone spoke about how Cersei loves her children, but I think for the first time, that's actually bullshit. She was so quick to throw Tommen under the bus, and Jaime actually, he stood there. He's referring to him as his baby boy. This is a man who never could actually be part of his children's lives, and he showed more kind of remorse or kind of guilt for what Tommen did, committing suicide, than what Cersei did. She was more bothered about just bringing in the new era. We'll create a dynasty. We'll create a dynasty for us. And he doesn't give a shit about any of that. He's just now looking at the fact that they're in grave, serious danger. Now, being a true lion, you know, and obviously he's got many attributes from his father there, he's not about to just kind of abandon the Lannister way. But I think once he realizes that he's out, you know, the path that he's going down is just going to get him killed, I think it's potentially going to, you know, he's going to leave the capital. I think he's going to leave Cersei's side completely. I mean, a lot of people wanted him to be the Valonqar, but I don't think he will get the reason to kill her. You know, I don't think he's going to hang around to the point where she is about to become the Mad Queen, if that is, you know, what she becomes. Initially, we know he's obviously about to go and plan some battles, whether he takes Highgarden, whether he tries to defend Casterly Rock. We know that he's going to be in those kind of situations. That one scene of him charging with the lance down the battlefield, he looks like on the edge in that moment. He's doing something out of desperation. And I think whatever comes of that situation, whether, you know, he escapes, whether Bronn rescues him, whatever happens, I think that is going to be one of his final moments where he's like, what the hell am I doing? And I think one more thing to happen after that will be his tipping point for him to just leave completely.
Yeah, can I just jump in on expanding on what you said next? Spot on. This, we did loads of podcasts and prediction videos and theory videos and stuff, and it was actually myself and Kyle and Grey Area. We had a chat about a big discussion about Cersei. It was like 2 hours worth of podcast that I had to edit together, and we had this big lie that she was going to tell, and we had this predicted, you know, this is definitely, she's going to blame this, she's going to, she said, you know, put Tommen's ashes in the sept, she's going to claim he was in the sept. So confused that this whole, yep, Cersei blew up the sept and killed everyone and Tommen committed suicide, and everyone's like, he's like, all right, I'm not massively happy with that situation, but, you know, I'm still here. And it's a bit like, right, okay, fair enough. We spent about 45 minutes discussing this big lie she was going to tell, and there was none. There was nothing. So I'm not sure if that's bad writing, or we have considered that Jaime might be playing her, but I don't think he is. He's got to go at some point, surely, because I know they're together and they were born together and blah, 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 and they've got a really tight thing going on. But come on, Jaime, you know, it's getting really frustrating now, like beyond, to the point where people are going to start losing that pathos they have with Jaime if he just continues to be a whipped boy. You know, he's got to move on, like, quick.
Well, Jaime's a special case, you know. I mean, he has that special connection. They had children, and he's just totally lost. His father brought him up to feel that family was the most important thing going on. So look at how he even looked after Tyrion. Tyrion was in prison, and he's the one who went above and beyond to make sure that Tyrion got out in the way. His sister didn't. His sister hates Tyrion. His father doesn't like Tyrion, but at least respected the family bond, or the filial bond that they had to one another. So Jaime is now stuck between his growing up in a very important, tight family unit and looking out for what is and was his family, and someone who essentially was his life partner, and everything else that's going on in his world. And he's realizing that even though he wants to live up to being what a Lannister is in his father's eyes, that some things might be more important, that it may be more important for him to be a good man in the world's eyes. And I think that the physical manifestation of that is what's on his page in the big book. There's nothing there. And he's going to finally be hit with that in the face. And I think for the rest of the series, and you'll know the moment when you see it. But from that moment on, everything he's going to do is going to be about him trying to fill that page up with proving that he is a good, solid person and not just simply a kingslayer. And maybe even one day get it to read that when he slayed the king, he did it for the right reason. So I think that's what we have to see from Jaime. At least that would be the ultimate upswing of the character arc that he's been on since season 1, from that first episode where we saw him drop Bran out the window and saw that he was despicable. I'm not sure how in the world a character who I found absolutely despicable from the first time I saw him on the show or read about him in the book and hated him, and now I have pathos for him. I empathize with him. I want him to succeed. I want him to be the better man, and I want to see him succeed. And I hope that we get to see that. That would be one of the golden turning points of the series.
Yeah, right. Because George R.R. Martin said that Jaime Lannister was quite possibly the most difficult character he's ever written, and it's for that exact reason. Everybody, you know, they feel like they ought not to, but we do, and we want to see that arc, don't we? We want to see him succeed, but she's his poison. It's like he's got this little Brienne and Cersei on his shoulders whispering, isn't it? Yay, be good. No, be bad. Yeah, be good. Be honorable. No, be bad. Lannisters, you get the idea.
I think that his I don't want to say conversion, but I think that his change will be a lot like Sandor's. We realize that Sandor is reflecting on all these things from his past, and he's like, damn, I screwed up here, and this, I did that. I don't know. I have a feeling that something like that's going to happen. I always revert back to the moment where Jaime was thinking about how Rhaegar was going to call a council. When he came back, he told Jaime he was going to come back to King's Landing and try to fix some shit because he knew that his father wasn't doing a good job anymore. And I think some of us, I know that you probably think this next, that Tournament of Harrenhal was perhaps organized in secret to get all the lords together so he could actually talk to them and get all that going down. Am I sounding okay, guys? Am I sounding all right? Was that a little bit robotic? I'm trying to fix that. I'm breaking up. Okay, I'm going to fix this, guys, and I'm going to let you go. Go ahead, guys. Go ahead. I have some technical difficulties.
Yeah, you haven't been on the show in a while. What you obviously are one of the people we love the most in the Game of Thrones community, and you always have such great ideas. You dropped a bombshell on us last time you were on the show, and I even had to make a response video for it. So what have you got for us? What little tidbit are you going to throw our way this week so that everyone in the chat and all of us can have a moment to talk about it?
Yeah, well, I don't know if you guys saw Dan's video recently, the one he put on today. And, anyone in the chat, sorry if you're not ready for this, but basically it was about a very in-depth scene in episode 6 about what's going to happen north of the wall. And basically, he's talking about how, yeah, see Gemma's there. Basically, he basically just talks about what happens north of the wall.
But there's nothing.
And I kind of disagreed with it. Because I thought it was just very kind of, I think we've had the plot leaks. I think a lot of people are trying to now bridge the plot leaks with footage from, the trailers, and are coming up with all sorts. Because, one thing I will say is I do actually believe the plot leaks now. It took me so long to come around because I think Dan and Dave definitely have butchered towards the end of the story. They're definitely butchering the books at this point. Because everything that's happened so far in those plot leaks is coming true, which for me is a bit of a sad thing, especially, with the dragon and whatnot. But one thing I do want to talk about is those clips from the trailer where we do see Jon and the company go north of the wall, because I've been studying these clips like pretty hardcore, and it's something that I actually will tag on to my last video, which was about how, where do the others live, where have they been residing all this time. And it was a bit of a follow-on to that video that I was going to do. It's going to be coming out on Sunday, but I want to talk about it today as well. And basically, one thing I wanted to talk about is how in those scenes, before we see Jon, on his own, there's no spoilers. This is me speculating. Don't worry. Before we get to that point of Jon, facing down the army of the Whites, is how did they get to that point, right? Because we're talking about the most elite warriors going together north of the wall as a band, and things like they get pretty hairy pretty quickly in some of those clips. So the kind of the sections you seem to have together is you have them all back to back, moving in a circle formation. And I want to talk about this formation in particular because you normally only kind of, I've been doing a lot of studying into, a lot of things. And normally you would only take that kind of formation if you were being hunted. Because the one thing I refuse to believe, even from Dan and Dave, is that they're hunting a White or a White Walker north of the Wall, and they just fall into the middle of the Night King's entire fucking army. Like, that would be the most bullshit TV, and it would probably be the first time you ever see me come on YouTube and rip this shit out of Game of Thrones, because if that's what happens and they just walk into his whole fucking army, that's bullshit. That's poor TV. That's poor writing from even George, if that's how George pans it out. But it's not. It's not going to pan out that way. What I think is, even the Game of Thrones channel keeps releasing the clip of old Nan's tales to Bran. And they're pretty clever with the way they do that. They throw emphasis on some of the important things that we do need to focus on. And as we all know, her stories to Bran are starting to kind of come true quite a lot, especially about the kind of monsters and about the things that are fighting for the Night King, or that were in the previous long night. Whether it's the first time these are happening, whether people see in the past or the future, I just want to say that I truly believe, and fuck everyone's saying about costs of CGI and whatnot. They have crazy budgets, and considering we don't see direwolves anymore, they've got CGI budget for a lot of things. I think we will see the hunt. They're not ice spiders. Everyone seems to think they're ice spiders. They're hunting spiders. They're giant hunting spiders. And what I think happens is that they go north of the Wall, and they end up getting tracked by these hunting spiders and actually being pushed into a trap. And I think that the Night King's army there doesn't know about Jon coming north of the Wall. I think it's a trap where basically they end up running and being chased and pushed into where they end up in that scene where Jon Snow is then facing down on all of the Whites. And I think it would make for one of the most intense, kind of jaw-dropping, heart-beating moments on TV if you can see these guys moving together as a unit, having to split up, and all the while from the shadows they're being chased and hunted like a pack, like it's the next meal for these hunting spiders with the White Walkers. And that's how you then get into the scene of, all of a sudden, before they realize it, they've actually been chased into exactly where they want them to go, which is then with nowhere else to go. Obviously, what happens after that, where the dragons do come in, I think it's going to happen. I think, that is what's going to, it's the only way you can see it with the fire in the trailer. The biggest thing I'm looking forward to, though, in that scene is where the Whites are coming at Jon, like one at a time. I can just imagine myself being on the edge of my seat, and it's kind of like the Night King or whoever's doing that is toying with Jon. They know he's got nowhere to go. They know he's got nowhere to run or to hide, and it's like they're just toying with him. And I just want to see this moment to see where Jon will call out the Night King to fight him, and whether that will happen. It's obviously not going to happen that early, but that tension, that moment that would make for an amazing TV. That's what I want to see. And that's what I think is going to happen.
That's what I want to see. Am I not robotic anymore? Are we good?
You're good. You're good now.
I came in at the perfect time. I would love to see another stare down with Jon, but Jon's like more focused on him instead of scared. Instead of kind of like in awe, he's more like, oh shit, it's on now, bitch. Instead of like the Night King going like da na 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 na, and he's doing his like little raising the whites and stuff like that. Gemma, George, do you guys want to jump in on that one? I mean, we know that the north of the Wall scene is going to be crazy at some point this season. I mean, do we see more White Walkers next episode? Is the question. Are we getting another Bran vision? Is Bran going to be returning to Winterfell? Is that going to be happening? Go ahead, Gemma.
Yeah, I think Bran's going to be at Winterfell either next episode or we might just see him arrive maybe towards the end and not actually see him go into Winterfell. But I think, because obviously we've had like the briefest scene with Bran so far. Are we talking specifically about what Next spoke about, or are we doing the question? See, because what Next said was fab. That was all great. I love Jon Snow. Anything with Jon Snow, and you know that. But that's not necessarily the thing I'm looking forward to the most. Not my piece of tinfoil.
Well, let's hear it, Gemma. I mean, we're kind of just going all in today. We can talk about whatever. We don't have to follow the script.
It's what I want to see.
Next week? That's a little bit early.
That's a little early.
Yeah, Gemma, that's like
possibly, but we can live and dream, can't we? I'm really next week. I'm really looking forward to Jon and Dany meeting. I mean, this has got to be the most.
You just want to see Jon naked. You're a Kit Harington fiend. Your husband even knows that.
I've got a free pass with Kit. I officially have a free pass with Kit. Actually, I don't want to see him naked. I want to see him in that outfit. Have you seen the photograph where he's landing on and he's layered up and he's got his gorget on? There's no cloak. Sorry, I'm going on. Ladies, come on, back me up here. Have you seen this photograph? My word.
I
have. Oh, no, none of that horrible northern blue filter is gone. The big cloak's gone. And oh, he looks boss. He looks so good. And I'm really looking forward to seeing that dynamic. Is, you know, she's gonna just be all like, stay cool, stay cool. Oh my god. I can't wait to see that.
So you think
sorry, I think someone else needs. I need to go get a cold shower or something.
Okay, well, I'll ask this to the men of the panel because we're going to have very different opinions about this. But is it going to be Jon or Dany that moves the stick first? I mean, because we know what kind of men Dany likes, right? Jon has really had one experience, which is with Ygritte. So, I mean, I don't know. Is it going to be Daenerys that's going to be like, oh my god, he's so regal, but then he's like, also, I'm not going to bend the knee, and Dany's going to be like all turned on by that, and she like you know, because Dany likes these men that have a lot of vigor to them. I don't know. What do you think, George? Next.
Vigor, huh? That's what we're calling it now.
I don't. That's the word that came out. That's the word that came to my mind. I don't know why.
No, I think that you know, they're going to present each other as equals. You know, he's going to come in and he believes that he's the king of the North, and right now, because the Targaryens were kicked out of their right of being kings, and now he doesn't believe that Cersei is queen. He believes that he's the king of the North again, so he's going to stand with her as an equal. And when she asks him to bend the knee, he's going to be like, no, I'm not. You know, but at some point they're going to have to come to an agreement. He is going there under the auspices of being called to bend the knee, and he is going to go there to ask one simple question: will you help us against the Night King or not? That's it. That's all Jon cares about. When he was brought back by the Lord of Light, he was brought back for a purpose, and his purpose is to stop the Night King from taking over the rest of the world. He was brought back by the Lord of Light to do that, and I think that's why he's the Lord of Light's tool in this, is because he's going to be so single-minded that that's going to be what he wants to do, and that's why he's there. So he would rather leave telling Dany, hey, if we need to go find something to prove this to you, that these things really exist or whatever it is, we will, and I'll be back. The same way that Euron went and got a present for Cersei.
Great points.
Yeah, no, just to back George up there, he's exactly spot on. I mean, the way you've got to see this is that Jon isn't here to play the Game of Thrones. He is not interested in the Game of Thrones whatsoever. So Dany still is. So when you know, they come face to face, and she is going to try, you know, you can see in that picture where, you know, she's all there like, you know, I'm on my throne, you know, like as Jon walks in the room, she's got to make that point across, hasn't she? But I don't think he's going to tolerate one bit. You know, she's going to be like, you know, look, you know, bend the knee or I'm going to destroy you, kind of, you know, Stannis Baratheon style. And I think Jon's just going to be like, I don't give a shit. You know, like, I'm not here to come and fight for you or to oppose you. I'm here for something else that's much bigger than everyone. And I don't think Dany's going to believe him at first. But I think because she's going to kind of meet her with that resistance, I think she's going to be really kind of impressed by that. And it's like with Elena Tyrell, you know, like in that room, she was the only one who wasn't giving kind of petty arguments about, you know, like, oh, you know, no, everyone's anyone who's a Lannister, you know, should be dead and all that kind of shit. You know, there was no petty things, no petty squabbling. Elena spoke up, and she's just kind of giving it real, like, you know, you're talking about being the queen of the ashes, but my family are already ashes. You know, she's just giving it straight and hard, which is why after that whole meeting's finished, she's like, you know, can I speak with you in private, because she kind of wants that straight advice one-to-one. But unfortunately, she doesn't realize that she's still speaking to a broken woman, a woman who's advising her from a very dark place, which I think is a huge reflection on where Dany can go with that. You know, you weren't a sheep, you know, you're a dragon, so be a dragon. Like, that's fucking awful advice. Like, she's saying unleash that inner beast, which that's not what their campaign's supposed to be about, you know. And I think Jon's going to do the same thing. She's going to try and do the same thing, you know, impose her will on Jon. And you got to remember, Sansa and Daenerys are two very different people. Jon's in a very difficult place where Sansa was concerned, but then he played her perfect. You know, he knew she was going to come again and kind of undermine him. And he knew, he was waiting for it, and he had his card ready, and he played it, which is why that look on Sansa's face was like that slapped kind of, oh shit, okay, I don't know you were going to do that, but he knew, he played her. Jon is actually, even though he doesn't want to play the game, he's actually playing it better than fucking anyone right now. He's King of the North for a reason. He became Lord of Commander for a reason, because he knows how to become the people's champion, and now he knows how to actually start playing people. Like, you know, he put Littlefinger in his place so fucking hard, so quick. You know, Littlefinger's there trying to speak to him, and Jon's just like, you know, a little snigger on his face, and he's like, I got nothing to say to you. Say one more word. And he just grabs him. He's like, shut the fuck up now, or I'm going to smash you down.
Oh, next your volume. Next your volume. Your volume's gone, homie. He got excited. Am I okay? Am I okay? Am I volume? Okay. So basically, I think what Nex is gonna say next is, Nex, you good? Try again. Okay. Basically, what I wanted to add on to that is I think that we could also add that Davos is gonna be there, and he's gonna be like, listen, Jon basically after Stannis lost, united the wildlings and tried to put differences between the Night's Watch and the wildlings aside, and he won the Battle of the Bastards. So I think that, yeah, I think that that's going to be another thing, because we hear Davos say, we don't know whose skeleton will sit on the iron. Well, there will basically just be a skeleton sitting on the Iron Throne. So yeah,
but that brings up a really good point. When Davos shows up, we're going to see Gemma's Red Woman cousin, Melisandre, there, and we're going to have to see how he deals with her, because you know that, and Jon too, for that matter, because you know that's not going to go over well. They both told her, get out of here. So not you, Gemma, obviously, but Melisandre, and but we're going to have to see how that plays a role in this. And then there's also the other aspect of our team with Tyrion is going to be heading up to Casterly Rock. So there are a couple things that all going to have to all come together. What happens at Casterly Rock? What happens in Highgarden? What happens with the return of Yara, like when they actually find out that she's dead? And then Jon Snow and Davos show up, and we have to see how Dany's going to react, because that's going to ultimately totally change how she's going to react to them. On one hand, I think that she was going to be all like, I am the queen, I am the high mighty one. And now she's going to come back and see that she has gotten defeated in a few areas, that some of her allies are not the best, and that it's ready to, you know, that she might have to actually listen to people and not just boss everyone around.
Nexty, we'll get you to finish off, because you said your mic's all sorted, homie.
How does that sound? Does that sound better? All right, there we go. I'll take it down a notch. I got a bit excited there, maybe.
Keep the hype going. That's what we're all about here.
Anyway, I think where it cut out, I was talking about Jon and Baelish, wasn't I? And basically, all I was saying is that the final game that Baelish could have played, obviously with Sansa, was completely taken away from him by Jon, because by giving Sansa the North, Baelish now can't go to Sansa and be like, you know, oh, you know, shouldn't you be the chosen one? You know, rightful heir of, you know, legitimized child of Ned Stark. That's all completely gone. And now Sansa is left with control and respect for Jon. Jon can now go off and do what he wants to do, which is obviously get the dragon glass. And I think that Baelish's game is coming so close to an end. You know, he's got no one there anymore. And I think even the Lords of the Vale, I think, you know, on principle, if you kill Baelish, on principle, they're going to be upset. But at the same time, you know, especially Waymar, is it Waymar Royce? Jon Royce? Sorry, Jon Royce, yeah. You know, he actually doesn't like Baelish. And let's say they kill Baelish, the only one line they've got to drop, or the one line Sansa has to drop, is that she was there when he killed Lysa. Boom. End of. The Knights of the Vale still fight for the North.
Yeah, I think there's no
Sansa gets that army. I think Sansa's gonna get right on. I mean, she's gonna use Cersei's power, what Cersei talked about. I just talked it in my video that I really say. Go ahead, George. Sorry.
Well, there's no. I mean, Littlefinger's game has been played. He doesn't even realize that he's dead yet. He's overplayed his hand, and all these mechanisms in the background are all coming to play right now to take him totally out. Whether or not it's going to be the fact that when the Hound shows up and he tells Sansa and Arya what happened, when Sansa finally says, "Oh, I saw him push Lysa." All these different things that he's done are now going to finally come back and get him.
I'm in agreement with that, Gemma.
Yeah, I think Littlefinger is very aware that his clock is ticking very, very loudly right now, and I think this is what we discussed a bit on Monday actually with Axie from Watchers on the Wall, and he said, and we all agreed as well, that he's basically got his back up against the wall right now, and people in that situation tend to do desperate and extreme things. I do think he has one more ace up his sleeve. I might not necessarily be sure. I've got a few theories of what that could be, and I think he's been saving that card for a rainy day, and this is his time to pull his trump card out of the bag. And I think he's going down. We will be seeing the ultimate demise of Littlefinger maybe sooner than we thought, actually. But I think he's going to have one final play before we see the end of him. But I think he's going to get played by Sansa. I think he's going to think his play is working, and she's going to flip the tables on him.
Quick question, which I want everyone one by one to answer. Yeah. How would you like to see Baelish killed?
Oh,
my
Ghost ripping out his throat. Period. That's mine.
Arya.
I totally stole George's answer. I think he's gonna kill me. Go ahead, George.
George, let's see it.
No. Mine is Arya plus. Mine is Sansa's talking to him. Then she pulls out the cat's paw dagger, puts it to his throat, takes off the face, and says, because it's really Arya, because he's been BSing Sansa the whole time. They're up in the old tower, and she says, "Remember when you told us to never trust you? Well, we don't." Dead. Gone.
Oh.
You know what's good about this, right? Is because I'm Team Arya for the Baelish kill as well, right? So that puts it 3-1. Sorry, Carl. But you know how I would love to see go down? Is our favorite old, I know it's probably not possible, but our favorite old Ned Stark making a final cameo. And imagine if Arya wore Ned's face. Imagine if Arya wore Ned's face and walked in.
Oh, that's classic.
and like George said, "You were right.
That's amazing."
Everyone, drop. Okay, everyone.
If
everyone isn't
right now, you need to drop it right now.
If anyone isn't subscribed to Nexus channel,
I'll do another video over here. It's the Ned's face theory video.
Oh my!
It's coming, guys. I've already done it. It's coming on Tuesday. It's coming on Tuesday.
Oh my God! So not only did Nex drop the Night King brand theory on live on air here, but he also dropped the friggin' crazy in another one. Oh my God, guys. Can we give it everybody fire emoji in the chat? I want to see about 75,000 fire emojis in the chat for that. Dropping some absolute wildfire. I don't think that Ghost is going to kill Littlefinger. I said that's what I want to happen, by the way. I do think that Arya is going to kill him. Gemma, you pick the next subject. We'll kind of just keep on flowing here.
Okay, next subject. Oh heck, the Hound. We saw him in episode 1, obviously. Flames. He can see the wall. He can see the army of the dead. Lord of Light. Blah blah blah. We obviously didn't get him last episode, so I assume we're going to be seeing him. We've seen him beyond the wall, but specifically this vision, this Lord of Light thing. Are we going to see more of that? Is he going to find out why the Lord of Light isn't finished with him yet? This series, do we think?
Oh, throw it to Nex first and Sandor's my favorite character. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
No,
No, I'm kidding. Nex, go ahead. I'm in the chat anyways.
No, say that last bit again. Say the last part again.
I said, no, I'm in the chat. Oh, sorry.
He's been told that the Lord of Light isn't finished with him yet. Are we going to get more of this? Aside from all the things we've seen him doing in the trailers Beyond the Wall, are we specifically going to be seeing more of this Lord of Light thing? Are there going to be more visions? Is he going to become a convert? Is he going to start wearing red robes and dyeing his hair red, or, you know, playing with fire? Himself, didn't he? It just my luck to end up with a bunch of fire worshippers. Is there a bigger role for the Hound to play within the spectrum of the religion of R'hllor specifically?
Who's taking this one?
Go ahead, Nexie.
Yeah.
All right. Now, look, I'm going to start by saying I have got endless love for the Hound. Like, since the beginning, since season 1, he's always just had this kind of, you know, straight cut edge, no bullshit, says it as it is. And seriously, he had me cracking up when he was just kind of talking to Thoros. You know, like, they're just talking about the weather. And he's like, oh, that's what he said to you, Thoros. It's windy. Like, you know, oh, it was just classic Hound. But
You'll get back to the game.
I think the biggest change, the biggest change was him looking into the flames. You know, this not only was that him confronting his fear, but it was his confirmation that, okay, yeah, these are a bunch of fire worshipping hippies, but what they're actually doing is legit. You know, there's something else at work here. Obviously, no one knows how this scene north of the wall goes down. I'm worried that, you know, in that final trailer, the Hound was in at the start, and then he's missing by the end. I don't know whether that's just because he's one of the people that managed to kind of break away and escape. I fucking hope so. Because after the whole business of the wall and going to get a white, you do have to wonder what is in it for the Hound after that, apart from obviously Clegane Bowl. But there has to be much more to the Hound than that at this point. You know, I always say that when people are being shown visions, being brought back from the dead, or bringing people back from the dead, these are key players that, to some extent, you can't just cast them away. Yeah, so I'm sure we'll get onto this in a bit. But Grey Worm, for example, I think they've just pretty much put a confirmation on his deathbed coming, and unfortunately for him, it's because you can do that. It was like with Barriss and Selmy. He was an amazing guy, and the way he went down, it's true. You know, one of the greatest warriors was slain in the fucking back alley by cowards. It's grim. That's Game of Thrones, though, right? And the same thing goes to Grey Worm. You can do that to him because what's his purpose other than being this badass kind of, you know, cutthroat warrior who now has a weakness in a woman, which unfortunately that's every man's fucking demise. Whereas you have the Hound who's now actually seeing visions of the dead. You know, you have to believe that his purpose is bigger than maybe just taking down the mountain. Or maybe it is, because maybe it's going to come to a point where the mountain's the only thing stopping them uniting all of Westeros because Cersei won't come on board. I don't know. But for me, it has to be bigger. It has to be bigger than just Clegane Bowl. Clegane Bowl would be huge, but it's got to be something a bit more meaningful. I mean, one thing I'm hating the rumor of is about the potential death of Thoros, and but again, he is just the Red Priestess. Beric, in my mind, he has that same kind of chain with the Hound, right? With Jon Snow now, even, is that when you're talking about bringing people back from the dead, it can't just be then for them to kind of aimlessly just die in another scene. They have to lose their life for a specific purpose. So we knew that when it's a bit sad actually, because when Jon was brought back to life, you kind of know now that he's actually invincible right until the end. Even if he takes, like, you know, a sword to the gut, he might get injured badly by one of the White Walkers. Unfortunately, with the logic of story writing, his character has been kind of made invincible a little bit. And the same goes with Beric until they fulfill the purpose. So, for example, they're not just going to go north of the wall and capture a white. That, you know, you can send foot soldiers to go and do that. But Beric the Hound and Jon Snow, those three in particular, have to die for something very, very significant before they will lose their lives. One thing I love the idea of, by the way, is even though Melisandre has identified Daenerys as, you know, the princess or prince that was promised, she very kind of carefully dodged the question of, do you think that I'm the princess that was promised? The line back was just, I think you have a role to play. Which kind of brings Daenerys in that fold. But one thing, I think, a very careful thing to take from that is Daenerys' invulnerability has just been shaken pretty hard. Because up until now, I've never been scared to watch Daenerys in my life. Every single episode, every scene, no matter how dire things look, I've never gone, shit, Daenerys might die any moment now. Whereas, thanks to that confrontation with Melisandre, the vulnerability has slowly just come in. Daenerys is about to, we're about to see a side of Daenerys and her whole army where she could die. She could lose everything. Everything that she's been built up from since season 1, that could all be lost for something else. And it's the first time she'll be vulnerable because we've never had that. And I think that's always made why I've never connected with Daenerys in particular. I've always found it very difficult to watch her because I'm never scared for the character. I was always scared for Jon. I've always been scared for the Hound, especially when that fight kicked off between him and Brienne. Jesus Christ, I was crapping it for both of them, really, you know, because neither of them two are vulnerable. Ned Stark, all of our loved characters, you feel like you can lose them. Dany's the only one who falls outside of that circle.
She's been very, I mean, and physically as well, removed from the rest of the story, hasn't she? She's not part of the North. She's not even part of Westeros, and this is why this meeting with Jon, this meeting of ice and fire, is so significant. We've literally for 6 years now watched their stories parallel and mirror each other. We've all seen the images that people have created with Jon at the Battle of the Bastards coming out of the men, and Dany with her Missa Missa moment, and we've seen all of these parallels. But yeah, Daenerys is. I'm with you. I don't dislike Daenerys, and I think she's on probably one of the most predictable arcs of all the characters in Game of Thrones. You know, so that coming from nothing, and coming to take her birthright, and I've struggled to identify with her and to fully get on board with like you said, caring essentially for her fate. But now she's actually part of this game. I am more, I don't know, the possibility of her dying now genuinely feels more real. She doesn't seem to have that plot armor that she had, because if she died in Essos, what was the point in any of that? A complete and utter waste. But now she's in Westeros, she can die. She genuinely can. And according to that scientific algorithm on that news report that I read a couple of weeks ago, she's the 3rd most likely, but that's just science, apparently. Yeah, like I said, I don't dislike Dany.
But it's been set
Sorry,
up
go, George.
To die.
Yes, yes,
I mean,
it is, yeah.
We, you know, Misa Misa Nisa Nisa, I mean, that alone, amongst other things. You know, when Kyle pointed that out, and certain other things like that. Next was just commenting on R'hllor and the Red God and all of that, and how all of these characters are simply players in his game, you know, and they really are. They have roles to play, and they are all playing them out. The Seven, have any of us, shout out if you've seen the Seven do anything that you would expect a cleric in a fantasy novel or anything ever do, other than simply preach or something like that. We see the many-faced God has given some magical powers to his people, right? They're able to change their faces, right? So they're a real actor. But the Red God is the only one who has like a major part in this. There are others. There's the Great Other. There's the bad guys, and they're playing a role. And not only are these roles that important, I've brought how many people back to life now? 2 on the show and the 3rd one in the books. So we know that can happen. And the interesting thing about that is that Thoros is probably the worst of all the Red Priests. He's terrible. He's just drunk. He, you know, remember our introduction to him in the first couple episodes? He's sitting there, he's pounding wine, he's getting ready to fight, he can't even walk. And everyone says he's an embarrassment, yet he's the first one who's able to resurrect someone. He's the first one who's able to bring someone back. So what we're seeing is that this whole idea of the Red God playing a much bigger part in this is really important. And something that I think that we can mention is like that kind of play on words that George R. R. Martin has used here with the whole idea of Lightbringer. Lightbringer is the Lucifer. Lucifer was the Lightbringer, the bringer of the dawn. Literally, that's what that comes from. And I'm not the first person to say this. I have heard other people talking about it, so don't think I'm claiming this as my own, but I'm agreeing with it wholeheartedly. George R. R. Martin is trying to play us off the idea that that's the evil one. Is Lucifer the evil one? Is the Red God the evil one? Who knows? This is all still up for grabs. There's still plenty of people who think that Dany is the bad guy on the show, and she just might be.
Yeah, she just might be. You're absolutely right. There's because that's the complete reversal of that trope, isn't it? You know, to have the beautiful blonde mythical woman to actually be the bad guy in all of this, even if it was the unwitting bad guy. We do have a donation from Stephanie Hart of $2. So thank you very much for that, Stephan. Do you think season 8 will have all feature-length episodes? Now, George, I know you've got some inside info on this, so take it away.
Yeah, Paula Fairfield, we were able to talk with her at Con of Thrones, and one of the best juicy tidbits that we got from her was that the average episode length for next season is going to be 82 minutes. That means that they could even be potentially longer than 82 minutes, and the final episode will probably be well over 90. So, yes, I absolutely believe that that next season we will be having all short end feature-length episodes.
That's absolutely credible. I'm really not sure where Kyle's gone. He was having some technical issues, so he's ducked out, and he's hopefully coming back at some point. But until then, we will truck on. Next, I know, and you'll probably get this as well. They love our accents, right? They love the English accent. So how about you read out in that wonderful English accent? I'm assuming you're a little northwestish of me,
Manchester,
a little bit. Yeah, you are then. Oh, my geography's not that bad. You know, my geography's usually shocking. I could tell you where a country is, but I couldn't tell you the town next to me. But so do you want to read out some of these names and say hi to everybody in the chat? I want to all type really, really fast, so he has trouble.
Oh, great.
Off you go.
All right, so we can see Stephen Hart, Bob O'Connor, Bridget Hammond, Tina Sarah, Anna, John Pratz even, Lyanna Stark in the chat, people. Warden of the Dawn, Peter Romero, Stannis the Manis. Oh, we've got Game of Theories with Marie. I very much like her. She stops by the channel all the time. We've got Samoka Hauntus. I like that name. That's pretty cool. Mr. Skillin 805. We've got Frumius B. Jim O'Donnell, Scout Teeny, Phil H. We all know Phil H. He's been in the mods for a while. Christina Norris, DJ NorCal, Peter Ramiro. Obviously, we've got George. We've got George in the chat. He likes to take part in the chat as we're on. Oh my God, guys, you got to slow down here now. Okay, we've got Adam Moe, Lola Dixie, Chandler L. Walker, Stephanie H, Gracie Acuna, Bridget Hammond, Lady Flanderensis, Sonny McLeod. We've got a few of these people. We've got Josh Lane, Sam the Narrator. Obviously, we'll shout out to the Sam the Narrator theory there, which I think was pretty much just confirmed in the last episode. Lady Warrior of the